Hello, Internet! I'm Elliot the Purple Hair Doofus, and welcome to Buddy Reads, where I read a small selection of a book and review it for you. Today we are continuing our journey through Wolves of the Calla by Stephen King. We are covering Chapter 9 of the story Telling Tales, which concludes this story. And this chapter is all about Priest Callahan finishing off his story of how he got into Midworld. But first it starts with the pilgrims settling into bed and getting some rest, waking up to be restful for when Priest Callahan finishes his little thing. Callahan had read the newspaper article that said his previous homeless shelter had been attacked, so he went back to New York to visit the person that was attacked, who I believe I said was the owner of the homeless shelter, and I still think that's true, but if not, you can totally correct me. And so he goes to visit the guy, and his sister is there, and his sister freaks out on him. And she says, "You have 10 minutes to visit with my brother and then I want you gone." And Callahan's like, "Fine, be that way." And she leaves, and he sits down next to his friend, and his friend says, "You have to get out of New York. They weren't looking for me. They were looking for you. You have to get out now." And Callahan's like, "Oh shit." And so he leaves the hospital room right as that guy dies. I'm going to imagine that the sister is not too happy about that. But he leaves, and he is walking along New York around the area of the homeless shelter when, surprise, surprise, he gets attacked. Didn't your friend just warn you with his dying breath to get out of New York? What the hell, man? So he gets attacked by the Hitler brothers, who are actually creatures with dark eyes and red piercing pupils. They have him kidnapped in, like, this warehouse situation, I think, and they're in the midst of carving a swastika on his forehead. And it turns out to be just, like, a cross, because the guy's a doofus. In the midst of the carving of the forehead, two men come in and they scare the two Hitler brothers away and they untie Callahan. But they make sure that Callahan does not see who they are. They want to be kept anonymous. He is, released, and he doesn't quite leave New York. He stays in New York against his friend's last breath of dying wish. Stupid. He starts working in the homeless shelter again, and he keeps it, well maintained. The homeless shelter gets this grant, what looks like a government grant. In order to get the government grant, you have to meet with the corporation. And so he and his friends from the homeless shelter get dressed up in their nicest clothes, and they go to collect on this $1 million grant that I believe it was President Reagan was giving out. So he goes to the building, and he walks in, and he instantly realizes that the 13 people there are vampires. It was a trap to get him. The vampires, seclude all of his friends over in one area, and they start to attack him. There's a battle, there's a kerfuffle, and he decides to jump out the window, because the head vampire says, "We have to destroy him, we have to make sure that he doesn't exist in any realm." He has no idea what that means, but he doesn't want to become a vampire or become infected by the vampires, who are infected with AIDS, by the way. And so he jumps out the window, and he falls. Right before he hits the ground, he blacks out. He wakes up in the Cave of Doorways, and there's a man there in a black cloak with a box. And he is saying, "We have to find Roland and Jake." Callahan's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." It turns out it's the man in black, and he says, "You soon will." And he opens up the box, and there's Black 13, the black ball, and it scares the ever-living shit out of Callahan. And he's like, "No, close it, please, close it. Oh, God, close it." And so the dark man closes it, and he says, "Do what I tell you to." Because Black 13 is showing him all sorts of visions of a terrible, terrible future. So Callahan says, "Okay, I'll do what you want." He sets out to find Roland and Jake, but not before taking the box and putting it into a church and becoming the town's priest, just doing what he knows to do. And that's pretty much how his story ends. Roland and everyone are sitting around afterwards, after Callahan has gone to sleep, and they're discussing things. Those two guys? I bet that those two guys were Calvin Tower and his buddy from the bookshop when Jake picked up the Book of Riddles and the Charlie the Choo Choo book. And I'm like, Okay, that makes sense. I mean, you had to name those two guys, but why was it so confusing? And then it ends with the startling revelation that Susanna knows she is in a family way. She's pregnant. And I kind of knew that she knew, but no one else knew that she knew, and everyone else knew, and it was just like one of those things that is going to be revealed, and everyone's going to be like, eh. So, like, the next story is going to have the reaction to her giant, I'm pregnant revelation. It's going to be eh. If you like what I'm doing, go ahead and click that subscribe button. If you like this video, click that like button, or leave me a comment letting me know that you liked it. Leave me a comment letting me know that you hated it. Leave me a comment letting me know that you like me. Leave me a comment letting me know that you hate me, jerk. Leave me a comment letting me know that you want to see more of me. Leave me a comment letting me know that you want to see less of me. Leave me a comment that you just want to punch me in the frickin' face. Don't. Just leave me a comment and I'll be happy. I've been the Purple-Haired Doofus. This has been Buddy Reads, and I will see you in the next section of Wolves of the Calla by Stephen King. Toodles!